Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Thanks so much for being with us. Biden and son, America for sale. That's the focus of tonight's angle. They've changed their explanations more than Hunter has changed prostitutes.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business.
It wasn't a discussion in any way. There's no but to this. No, we never did.
The president was never in business with his son.
Hunter may have put his father on the phone with any number of different people, and they never once spoke about any business dealings. It was all casual conversation, niceties, the weather.
He's like Susan Rice was during Benghazi. Send him out. I mean, they've gone from Joe knows nothing to he may have spoken to Hunter's business associates, but you can't prove any criminal wrongdoing or that he actually helped Hunter's clients. Gosh, they think you are this stupid. Their new spin is about as convincing as their new pitch that Bidenomics is working. Did you see this today? Biden's overall approval is at an all-time low on the economy, just 34%. So I'm telling you, Americans are not this stupid. Facts are stubborn things. People see that as most Americans are getting poorer, the Bidens keep getting richer. How is that happening? And during the past several years, the evidence about Hunter has pointed to one unmistakable conclusion. The Biden family acted like the U.S. government was for sale. Hunter's old pal and business partner, Devon Archer, testified on Capitol Hill today, and he confirmed what we suspected before, that Joe Biden lied when he said he didn't know anything about his son's business. Well, we all know that when he was VP, Joe Biden was put on phone calls with Hunter and his clients, not to discuss the weather, as fascinating as Joe's perspective on the weather must be, but to reassure those clients that the big guy was on their side. Archer testified that Hunter put his father on speakerphone while meeting with business partners at least 20 times. A lot of weather to talk about. And said that Joe Biden was on the phone to basically sell the brand. Now, no one should really get hung up, as sometimes Republicans are wont to do, on whether sufficient proof exists to convict Joe Biden of a financial crime. That's irrelevant here. If Biden had any brains, he would never have wanted funds to go directly to himself anyway. It would be better if it all went to his son or brother or anyone in his family for that matter, as long as it went to a Biden. Again, consider what we already know. Hunter was promoting himself as someone who could get things done. Remember the WhatsApp message. We know that his dad was happy to participate in these calls with Hunter's foreign clients. And I'm thinking about this today. I'm thinking, imagine for 1 millisecond if this same fact pattern applied to Don Jr. and Donald Trump. Do you think the New York Times would be defending their actions because there isn't a smoking gun? There's never a concern about needing a smoking gun when the bogus Trump investigations are involved. That's never a consideration. We all know that Hunter was paid obscene amounts of money for one reason and one reason only. He could deliver results. What foreign energy company or bank would ever consider writing a check for $10 million, as Burisma did, and expect nothing in return? Just nothing. Do we think the Chinese energy firm, CEFC, it's basically a big conglomerate, just randomly wrote checks? Whether or not they actually received services in return, the type of services that only Hunter could provide. Yet that's the type of absurd argument that the Democrats would have us believe. Or to put it another way, that Hunter, who had precisely no expertise in international business, essentially, I guess, bilked his foreign clients, cheated them out of millions of dollars because his dad just did nothing for them. But come on, we all know that's another lie because we know Joe made it clear what he would do to Zelensky if the prosecutor was not fired that just so happened to be investigating Burisma.
I said, you're not getting the billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Wouldn't investigate Burisma. Now, remember how Trump was impeached over a phone call, trying to get to the bottom of that?
There's never been a time like this in our country. They go around indicting me for nothing. And this is a crime family. That was like mobsters, the way they spoke on the phone, the way he spoke on the phone about his father sitting there. And he was sitting there. Does anyone have a doubt about that?
Amongst the many shocking revelations from Archer was this, that Hunter Biden and top executives at Burisma called D.C. in 2015 to ask the Obama administration to help fire the Ukrainian prosecutor investigating the firm. That was today. Now, we asked from the beginning, I think the only question that really matters here, how did the Bidens get so rich, and what services were paid to Hunter Biden under these circumstances? Now, at this point, just to save the U.S. government any more money on these investigations, we actually should consider getting Congress just to pass something called the Biden Family Support Act for 2023, just appropriate, I don't know, $50 million to the family and be done with all of them for once and for all. Think about how much money we're spending here. I'm only half kidding. This has never really been a Hunter Biden scandal, as slimy as he obviously is. This has always been a Biden family scandal, and everyone knows it. Everyone in that hearing room today know it. Every lawyer worth his salt knows it. Every lobbyist, every foreign official. So tonight I'm telling you this, that Democrats cannot keep spinning and lying to us. I mean, they can try, and they can do it to themselves, but it's not going to change the following, that this saga has formed another political cloud over Joe Biden that will never depart. And if the Democrats continue to defend this by hanging it all on legal semantics, no one is going to take them seriously on any other ethical matter, not ever. Certainly not involving Trump. How silly and how hypocritical does Biden sound when lecturing other countries now about democracy or about the need to preserve norms? Joe, what norms are those exactly? Using your whacked out son to make money by, his dropping your name, putting you on the phone, bragging about how the Bidens always deliver, then leaving the customer with what? We're supposed to believe a pretty box full of air, and yet they wrote these big checks? Is this what democracy looks like, Biden style? The best lawyer in America may never be able to prove that Joe Biden had the intent to solicit bribes, and the Senate probably wouldn't have the votes anyway to convict him if he was actually impeached. But that is beside the point. It's not about whether Joe himself committed a crime. It's about whether we really want to reward this family with 4 more years in office. The Democrats just want us all to move on. And yes, we intend to, from the Bidens. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.